Okay, today we're going back to Dirus by L.J. Vitanza. This is episode 2 entitled The Odd Man. The camper door swung open to a young girl standing in the frame. She looked towards the sky as if the weather would be different from the previous day. She wore the same clothes as yesterday in different colors and patterns. A midriff tank top, frayed short shorts, and flip-flops barely covered her flawless porcelain skin. The odd man watched intently and briefly noticed the baseball cap and sunglasses that hid her face. Instead, he focused on her youthful and exposed flesh and enjoyed the flirty way she flipped her blonde ponytail when she turned her head. Every evening, he would watch as she emerged into the remaining daylight. She would examine her bicycle and fill the worn tires with air. He shifted in his chair as her small breasts teasingly jiggled as she pumped down on the handle of the air pump. Sometimes he might catch a glimpse of her panties when her shorts crept up as she bent down. He justified his dark thoughts and attraction by blaming her and her seductive actions. She was sinful and vile. The girl was a young teenager, 13 or 14, and every day, just like the other, she would ride towards the pebbled path that led away from the campsite and into the woods. Her father would notice and yell words of caution as he arranged charcoal briquettes in the barbecue. And like every other evening, his ill attempt at fatherhood was interrupted by the laughter from scantily clad women a few sites across the way. He would abandon the grill shortly after his daughter's departure, the food left to rot in the heat of the intense sun. Like every other evening, this man would indulge in a drink with women that enjoyed the still young and handsome father. Her dad would have a beer in one hand and his other draped around the shoulders of a woman, with his fingers intertwined in her bra strap. The charmers danced to loud music as the once cloudless and blue skies darkened. Passing campers shook their heads in dissent. The girl on the bike would reappear from the forest about an hour later, amongst the light cast by lanterns and the flames of open fire pits. Angry with his drunken behavior, the girl would curse under her breath and storm into the camper, slamming the door for attention. No one took notice of the young teenager, except the odd man camping next to them. He deliberately hid under an umbrella to hide his perverted behavior. A wide-brimmed hat hid his short hair and the features of his face. Dark, wraparound sunglasses hid his eyes. He wore a long-sleeved, baggy shirt that hid any tattoos or scars and concealed his muscular build. The man was average and forgettable. He drove a white camper van with no identifying characteristics and blended in with the other light models that flooded the park. He would change license plates with stolen ones as he crossed state lines. During this visit to Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, he assumed a California identity after noticing a sea of visitors from the Golden State. He kept a tidy campsite and packed out any potential evidence. There would be no beer cans, cigarette butts, or prints left by his boots or tires in the dirt and gravel. After exiting the park, he would dump and destroy all trash, receipts, and tourist brochures. He would purchase new clothing and camping gear with the money stolen from unattended vehicles. He would leave nothing to tie him to the previous crime site as he formulated his next plan. He would hunt for his victims in national and state parks. They offered secluded areas, little phone service, and ample opportunity. Parents were distracted. Supervision of children was kept to a minimum, making for easy pickings. They were vacation destinations where everyone let their guard down. Happy places for the masses of happy faces. He grinned with delight. The man held a book in front of him, his head tilted downward, his eyes looking up. He spoke to no one and acknowledged no one. He watched and waited and planned in the shadows of his campsite without disruption. The man always sat in the same position, reading the same tattered book, and never turned a page. Every night he would watch the girl make dinner through an open window. As she tended to herself, her mother sat listlessly on the couch, her body leaning to one side. Her mind was vacant and poisoned with opioids as she stared at the static on a blank television. As her daughter spoke or whistled, the mother remained inattentive and never acknowledged her presence. No one would notice this girl missing. Not yesterday, not now, not tomorrow, definitely not tonight. Once she appeared in the doorframe of her camper, the man finished the last of his beer and shoved the can into the mesh cup holder of his canvas chair before throwing it into the van. His campsite was now void of any personal items. This evening, he would miss the seductive bike check and tire maintenance. Instead, he jumbled onto his bicycle and pedaled down the pebble path that started at the edge of the forest. He had previously scouted an area that was easily accessible and isolated. He had prepared for this moment in earlier days and was ready to fulfill his calling. He would eliminate the evil and young seductress, cleansing the world of the wicked. When he arrived at the predetermined location, he concealed his bicycle amongst thick vegetation and crouched amongst the bushes. He opened a cached supply bag, hidden during his previous visit to the site. He rehearsed the plan in his mind as he pulled a strip of duct tape from a roll and hung it on an exposed and bare twig. He remained still and slowed his breathing, waiting for her arrival. He listened for the sounds of tires traveling on loose gravel as he watched through a break in the bushes. He expected her to appear at any moment. As he lay in wait, there was a rustling around him. The sound became louder and closer. He feared a group of people was approaching. He would miss this opportunity to carry out the assault. The man supported his weight on the hand that clutched a rock to turn and look for the intruders. He frantically thought up excuses for hiding in the bushes as he looked from side to side. He further turned away from the path as his eyes narrowed and watched shadows dancing among the brush in the fading light. He couldn't focus on them as they scampered about, taking their positions around him. Finally, one of the creatures emerged from a break in the bushes. He faced a canine that looked down upon him with hackles raised and its tail tucked under its lowered body. Its head lowered and its ears pulled back, the wolf looked at him with large, pitch-black eyes and yellowed teeth exposed through a snarled mouth. The man knew he was in trouble as other wolves made their presence known. Before the deviant and cowering man could strike the beast with the rock in his hand, the alpha male grabbed him by the neck. He struggled as the wolf's teeth tore into his soft tissue and pressed against his throat as blood seeped from the wounds. The immense pressure prevented him from breathing or screaming for help as he flailed his body in an attempt to free himself. The rest of the pack excitedly paced around the attack in the tight quarters as the alpha female lurched forward to assist with the kill. She bit into his wrist, forcing him to drop the rock, the only weapon he possessed. Knowing the life was seeping from the body, the man stopped struggling, too weak to fight off the predators. As he went limp, the pack was now in a frenzy, awaiting their turn to feast. The man managed to smirk one last time as he thought of the irony as his world turned to darkness. The predator was now prey. During the flurry of activity, the pack failed to notice the scents and sounds of the approaching bicycle. Upon hearing the growls and rustling of the bushes, the girl stopped and looked, but could see nothing. She was scared of the unknown and spooked by the sound of the wolf pack as it fed and decimated a human body. She hesitated for a moment, but turned her bike and frantically pedaled back to the campsite. Her father was with the usual assemblage of women, failing to notice her return. She glanced over the rotting dinner next to the grill before shooting a disappointing gaze towards her dad. The girl parked her bike before slamming the camper door shut behind her. With her mother asleep on the couch, the girl shook her head with disbelief and started preparing her dinner. This night, she chose to dine on macaroni and cheese while watching An American Werewolf in London in full view of the open window. A note from the author. Thank you for reading the second episode of Dirus. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and comment or subscribe. Your input is valuable. You can also message me at ljvitanza@yahoo.com. Thank you. So that was episode 2 of Dirus. It is available for your further reading pleasure on Kindle Vella. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to this video podcast. And both the author and I thank you for watching or listening. There is a link to keep reading or to join the author's Facebook group in the show notes. So I hope you will connect with her there. Thank you again and be blessed.